I feel sad and upset by the fact that a child was bullying another child. I'm not necessarily going to blame the child. I'm not necessarily going to be angry at the child.
Accountability in terms of, if I just want them not, of course, to be accountable for what they've done, at least because they've denied it so much. I feel like for them to turn their heads around and be like, hey, actually, you're alright.
I've been feeling ways on ways apart.
Alright, welcome to a new episode of Waves of Positivity. On this one, we're going to be focusing on discrimination and actions of hate by focusing in on two recent or prevalent cases, namely Shukri Abdi, and the other one will be the Sikh child that got bullied for wearing a turban after school. And to help us bring this case to light and look into it deeper, we brought on two amazing guests. So if you'd like to introduce yourself very quickly for us, please.
Yeah, so I'm Mukhtar Mahmood. I'm a close friend of these guys, and I've been a fan of the positivity movement. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. I'm Hamzi Bari. Well, there's not much to say. Alhamdulillah, university graduate, friend of Mukhtar, and he's the one who introduced me to you guys.
It's a pleasure. Okay, so what it is, the reason we brought you guys on to bring light on this particular scenario is because you guys are of the same ethnicity. So I feel like maybe you'd have a deeper connection and you can expand on the situation a lot more than we can. So very briefly, if you can maybe talk about the case for those of us that may not be aware, what are the main facts? What is the main scenario? What happened?
So last year on the 27th of June 2019, what happened was that Shukri Abdi with two other children from her school went to a park, and it was a river there. Now child one prompted and said to Shukri Abdi, get into the water, otherwise I will kill you. Now Shukri Abdi went into the water, and basically the end result being that she drowned. And since then there has been an ongoing inquiry, and lately it has also been resurfaced basically as to whether or not it was wrongful death, whether it was murder, or as the police have said, it was just basically an accident. But I think it's just something I would like to say that it's different though, because many people from the community feel that given the circumstances, given the scenario as to how it happened, and the fact that it involved a Somali girl, a refugee, and the fact that she was killed by two individuals, and that we haven't really found any semblance of justice, that is the main pain point, I'd say, for ourselves.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to touch on is, why do you think it's taken so long and we still haven't got justice for this young child? What are the main reasons for that, in your opinion?
Well, when we take a look at it, that wasn't the first time that Shukri Abdi had a problem, with these people. But when you look at the history around it, and you look at the circumstances that she was in at a young age, new to the country, which were trying to find her footing, trying to find her group of friends at that age. You can imagine all of us at that age, when we're trying to fit into, the group of friends and trying to find our place. Because I remember, when I came to this country, I was 5 years old. I didn't have as many problems, but I have a lot of sisters. So now looking from my older sister's perspective, she had that, I think of at a young age trying to find, those friends. So, but luckily for her, she found someone that looked like her in the area that she was in. And so with the guidance of that friend, she slowly learned English, and then everything was okay. But Shukri didn't have that luxury. And from what I've read, she wasn't in a predominantly ethnic environment, And so in a majority, white school, and from the white kids' perspective, seeing, somebody that's different to them, and then hearing from their parents or hearing from the news, Islamophobia and all of these other different, problems that have been going on, they see her as a threat. For example, when she ran away, or she came from a already distressed position, and then she's coming here for peace, and then being confronted with that is a problem.
Right. So with that answer that you've given, would you tie in Islamophobia and racism to the death of Shukri Abdi, or would you say that it needs further investigating before pointing that as the obvious?
I feel like it's a good question, but when you look at it from from an overview, even if we step aside from perspective of a Somali person ourselves, when we look at the situation, you look at it from the other angles as well. It's a it's clear injustice from our point, because we can see there's clear injustice here, but the problem is the adults in the situation and the school at hand. If we talk about the school, for example, this isn't the first time they had a problem. They had a history of this. I remember reading earlier, there was a teacher that committed suicide. And it's like, if there's a school that has consistent issues with people going there dying from, you know, from unnatural causes, that should have been investigated. There's a clear, I feel like there's more of a systematic issue.
There's an underlying issue.
There's an underlying
There
issue.
were red flags
here.
before.
Huge red flags. And this Shukri Abdi here, it's a huge problem for them, I feel like, because now not only have they caused injustice to her, but they've also woken up the wider community across the country. Because of course, you know, when from a Somali perspective, we're all connected in a way, you know. So
Yeah.
if there's some harm happens somewhere from another Somali that we don't know, we find out. We find out, and then because of that, and of course, you know, shout out to our sisters, they're the loudest. You know, the Somali sisters are the loudest. It's huge. You see, yeah, when you look at it, I feel like if we take it all the way back to Somalia, there was one woman called Hawa Tako. You know, Hawa Tako was a legendary, what you call it? She was an activist. She was our Martin Luther King, basically, in Somalia. So she was the one that was fighting with her loud voice, what you call it, fighting the injustice from the Italians that were coming in. And so when you have that spirit in what you call it, in the Somali woman, there's no injustice would be brushed under the table, especially when it's this clear. It's black and white, you know. Of course, you know, we're hearing it from the mother's perspective, telling that this is there's a history of this, you know. And they thought, oh, it's somebody that doesn't know English. They're, you know, immigrants. We can just brush this thing out.
Yeah.
It's just another case of, you know, problem that we had. We could just keep it going. But of course, you know, alhamdulillah, it didn't happen. So it's really sad. Yeah, so it's a difficult thing to say, you know.
Indeed.
But then it's really important, especially seeing the news right now. You know, I think Guardian are the only people that talked about it.
Yeah,
New
yeah.
development. So it's not something that they want to bring to the forefront.
Yeah, unfortunately. So now that we've brushed up on a bit of the situation and the facts, I want to make this slightly more personal with you guys, just so the audiences and ourselves can learn from you guys as well about unity. So do you guys have any younger sisters or nieces?
Yeah.
Okay, so after this Shukri Abdi situation, or before this happened, how would you react to your younger sister coming home one day and saying, I got bullied by a group of girls? What would your first approach be?
I think for me personally is that if she was to come to me and say that she was being bullied, she was being harassed, me myself coming to this country around the age of 8 years old, so I've been through that, being like the new kid, like all school being different and stuff like that, like obviously having to play catch up with other individuals. So I felt those pains, and it is something that I've honestly, the best word I can put is I detest. So forms of bullying, I just honestly hate it. So to find out that my own little sister was going through something like that, something similar like that, it would just cause me great pain. And fortunately, that hasn't been the case, alhamdulillah. I say that over the years, we've been in a very positive environment, very good environment. There have been people in which you can relate to. There's just been peace. But unfortunately, I feel that Shukri Abdi, she wasn't really afforded that. I'd say she wasn't really afforded that protection from individuals in the community, or just other people. Her own school did not provide her the protection or helped her. It's somewhat ironic that the fact that her life in a refugee camp, she left there healthy, no batter, no bruises, but when she came here in search of a life,
Wow.
it's when it's just stupid, I'd say.
Yeah.
It gives me chills, man.
It's sad.
It is sad.
I want to touch upon maybe a way that we can like overcome this, or try to overcome it. One of the keywords I picked up from your answer, Mukhtar, earlier on was you said different.
Yeah.
You said that one of the reasons, or maybe even the main reason why she got bullied, or for that matter, any child or anyone gets bullied, is because people feel like there is a clear difference. And that difference, they see it as either a threat or a weakness that they can exploit. So what steps can we take to try and sort of break down this barrier and make people realize that difference is good? There's nothing wrong with being a different skin color, nothing wrong with different ages, different genders, different ethnicities. Like, how do we bring that about, to break down this barrier?
Yeah, you're right. To be honest, difference in in people. To be honest, anybody that's educated will tell you it's a good thing. You know,
Yeah.
diversity brings diversity of thought. You know, diversity of innovate. That's what creates innovation. That's why the Americans took the Nazi, what do you call it, scientists, and then the guys they built NASA. You know what I mean? Because they built NASA, now we have microwaves and we have fridges and we have to be honest, that's diversity. But what we've done, of course that's an extreme case, but if you look at it from the other perspective, from us here, if you bring someone from a different background, their troubles or their thoughts or their way of thinking will benefit your country, your people. So if you look at anybody that's racist you'll never get high level, or it's really rare to get of course Donald Trump is an anomaly, but they'll barely ever get to a certain extent, you know what I mean, because that level of racism or prejudice doesn't go far. You know what I mean. So I feel like the main thing is education. That's the common denominator is education. So if we can, and separating from different people, different cultures is a problem itself. It's like, because we tend to group, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, they look the same, so I'm a group there, or you group there. Nobody mingles. Or maybe there isn't a platform for people to actually mingle with each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, when was the last time you spoke to somebody of a completely different standing or background or, thought to you? Do you know what I mean? Even if they're a threat to you, or if you think their way of thinking or their ideas are a complete, yin and yang situation to what you're thinking, it's you still have to be able to put prejudice aside. But how do you teach kids to do that? So of course that school is one school, but maybe, I don't know, potential solution could be workshops in schools in predominantly white areas, for example. So those kids could become familiar too. And I think it's a good thing for ethnic people being visible on TV and video and YouTube.
Reminds me of the Christmas.
Like
the Christmas ad for Sainsbury's or something.
That was
ridiculous.
Yeah. So why is that a backlash? You know what I mean? Like why?
It's saying like what people need is exposure.
Exposure. That's what I think. Exposure.
I think although talking about this Sainsbury's Christmas ad that got a lot of backlash, although it got the backlash, I think if we have more of it, people like to say these days, desensitize. It might desensitize racist people towards people of different colours. So I think, so like you say, one way is through education, systematic education.
Yeah.
Then maybe what I'm suggesting is these bigger corporations, taking that leap and just incorporating people of different ethnicities to run their campaigns to represent them.
Yeah.
Make it the norm. And I think, like we said, we started this conversation by talking about a difference. So if we start introducing a norm, it's no longer a weird difference. It's not an absurd difference.
We ourselves, I'd say, even though we see a difference between ourselves and other people of white skin color, so I think that the fact that there's still discrimination, even though they look similar, but just based on where they're from, I feel that's not very surprising that the attitude is still carried forward today, though. Yeah. Like, people just love to divide on any lines that they can find.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, but something to brush up on that is the generations that pass it on to generations. The way goodness is passed through generations is the same way badness is passed through generations. So if we, as the young or old millennials now, if we come together and we teach our kids or our younger siblings about differentiation and how we're all one, no matter if you're Somali, if you're white, or if you're Asian, if we teach them that from now, they will live their life like that, and they will pass that on and on and on. And inshallah, one day there will be unity.
It reminds me of one of the sayings of Prophet ﷺ when he says, always look for the good in a person. Do you know what I mean? Or you see somebody doing something, there's got to be a good reason for why they're doing that particular thing. Or it's like, look in the good, or look for what unifies you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. Yeah, that unifies us.
Yeah.
We both live in Britain. We could be someone. You're both from. We're both from England. Yeah. Let's.
It's common factor.
Yeah, we do that, but we don't do it enough. Like you'll meet someone, and then like
it's different.
Yeah, you'll be like, you do this,
with the spoon by my hand. We can't eat together, bro.
Yeah, no. Do you know? I think it's quite interesting. I think, like, if next time we're having a conversation with someone new, let's see, let's try and find that. Let's go through that list of questions until we find something common. We might have to go all the way down to the bottom and be like, we're just human. That's the only thing we've got in common. But, we're human before everything else. In your opinion, both of you, what do you think is the best possible outcome or an ideal outcome for everyone, particularly the victim and the victim's family?
I feel that for me personally is that for there to be accountability. Now, as it goes on, as some details, new findings, all of that changes, I just hope that the main consistent point being is that everyone, or the case itself, is treated fairly, as though it was your own child, regardless of where she may be coming from, her background. I just want it to be treated fairly and equally. That's what I want.
Like Madeleine McCann, basically.
Basically, I think that's just like an extreme.
I'm just trying to make it black and white, bro, rather than grey. If this is what the point is, treat it like it's a young blonde girl with blue eyes. If that's what you call justice, I'm all for it.
Like the extent, to the length that they're going to sort of give justice to Madeleine McCann and her parents. You know, where's that pursuit of justice for this young woman?
That's what I'd want, basically, that the same effort, the same actually want and desire for justice to be applied in this case as well.
I agree. Like to add to that point, I'd probably say accountability in terms of, if I just want them not, of course, to be accountable for what they've done, at least because they've denied it so much. I feel like for them to turn their heads around and be like, hey, actually you're alright. Do you know what I mean? It's a grave injustice to their own system as well, do you know what I mean? To their own way of dealing with things. That the best thing that I'd ask for is to accountability for the people that are supposed to take care of her.
Who do you think is accountable?
I blame the school. I blame the school.
And yourself?
I'd say it's both the school, and I'd say it's the handling of the case itself.
Yeah, the aftermath. We need to change the system, because there's always, if you look at any injustice in any organisation, there's always deep-rooted systemic things that's been going on for years. Similar to you can parallel it to the Me Too movement.
Before it boils over.
Like the Me Too movement was something that was going on for years, decades. It was a norm until they flipped it on its head. That's the same thing that needs to happen here.
Right, so today we're here to talk about discrimination again, just a follow up from the Shukri Abdi one, but we're here to talk about two amazing individuals from the Sikh community to speak up about the recent discrimination that many Sikhs have faced, especially with the most recent viral video with the Sikh kid being bullied and having his turban being pulled off as well, which is a huge violation to a religion. So we're here to raise awareness and bring unity and obviously point out the facts as well. So before we get into anything, I'd like you guys to introduce yourself.
My name is Dalbagh Singh Sandhu, and I represent the Sikh community, and obviously I just wanted to talk about, as you said, I just want to say thank you for actually getting us over here right now to actually speak about this matter, which is not spoken much outside in the media, and I'm very, very thankful to Waves of Positivity to actually bring it up in front of people, and we are very thankful to
Most welcome. It's the least we could do.
Thank you.
My name is Harpreet Johal, and I'm just going to say the same as Dalbagh, and thanks for inviting me over.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for coming here, actually.
Thank you.
So to sort of go into it, I'll sort of start off with the easiest question, which is, what does being a Sikh mean to you?
Being a Sikh, it's a very good question, and we do get a lot of people asking that question as well, and I know that a lot of people through your channel will be able to see it, so thank you again. In terms of being a Sikh, I would say when I was growing up myself, it was more like, people are just saying that being a nice person, not drinking, not smoking, and not doing anything bad, right? Then I was just thinking that, okay, I understand that everyone can do it. You can be an atheist and you can do it. So why being a Sikh is unique? Because that's when we have to go back to the message of Guru Nanak, when he basically came in the early 15th century, in the middle of 15th century when he came, and he was accepted by every other religion. He was accepted by the Muslims as the wali of the Muslims. He was accepted by the Christians as the father of the nation for the Christians. He was accepted by the Hindus, and they saw him as well. So being a Sikh basically is being in unity with other people, right? So a Sikh has got 5Ks. We've already talked about 5Ks. It's like, one of them is long hair. Long hair, we believe that it's part of your body, it's part of your soul, it's part of your creation. We say when Guru Nanak went and he spoke in Makkah, Medina, he went to other places and he was telling people to be natural, the way God's created you. Religion came 10,000 years ago. And as Sikhs, we feel that the human DNA, they're saying millions of years old. right? So 50 years ago, no, 50,000 years ago. So we are meant to be as we are meant to be, like natural, right? So Sikhism, the foundation is being natural, but at the same time living in advanced world that we're living in right now, but still keeping your character as what you are as a person, not losing yourself away from reality. So having long hair is one of those things. The second K that we've got is, we call it Kanga. Kanga is like a comb that we use, and we normally keep it inside our hair, right? So basically we do not use anyone else's comb, we use our own comb. And the third one is a kirpan. We call it kirpan. Kirpa means, like kirpa, if you look in Punjabi language or the Indian language, it means blessing, right? So it's a blessing on you. So basically you do not use it as a weapon on anyone. It's a self-defense, or if you see somewhere wherever injustice is happening, you can actually use it there. The fourth one is kashera. Kashera is like a long shorts that a person wears, and men and women both should be wearing that one. So basically it's a form of unity. And it has normally when you wear like your underpants, you just pull it up, but with that one you actually have a knot on it, so basically you have to tie it down. So before doing anything wrong, you know that you're opening it as well. And the fifth one is the gara. So gara is basically, I can actually take it off, a person can actually see it. It's round, she's got it as well. And it's basically, if you look at it, it just talks about the universe, so how the universe is. And when you try defining God, you cannot tell where God is. Like literally, it's an infinity. You do not know where the start is and where the end is. So when we talk about Allah, when we talk about anything, we say we cannot describe it because it's too big for our mind to understand how big Allah is, right? So these are the fundamentals of Sikhs. And now as a Sikh, for me, I feel that wearing a turban is a crown. So basically we only see that there is only one emperor, which is Allah, which is God. He is the only emperor of the universe, and each Sikh is a king. And each woman, for example, she's a queen. There is no, so for me, like you're a king, I would say you're a king as well. So every person on this planet is a king. We are not to be ruled by anyone else. We are not to be told by anyone else how to live. But as good citizens, we carry on living and helping each other out. So that's what being a Sikh for me is.
It's an amazing answer, and I've learned a lot from that.
Man, I was getting smiling. I just didn't know what to say. I just smiling.
We have so much in common in terms of belief.
100%.
Especially characteristics.
100%.
What about yourself?
Wow, that was a really good answer. I don't think I can beat that.
Especially as a female, I think you have a different perspective.
Put my thinking cap on. Being a Sikh to me is like a spiritual journey. So, basically people being united and treating everyone as equal, no matter what caste you're from, or no matter what your status is, no matter what your wealth is, just treating people equally and fairly. And it's, for me, it's like a spiritual journey. So no matter what your background is, no matter what your sins are, no matter how much bad you think you are, or you think, I'm a good enough person, Sikhism will always accept you no matter what. And
beautiful.
Yeah, that's my
That's
definition.
amazing.
Short and simple.
I think I should have kept it that way.
Yeah, sure.
No, you both explained it really beautifully.
Thank you.
And I think this is where it's going to be really useful as well. Can you explain to us what happened with a young Sikh boy who was bullied outside of his school? And it was very heartbreaking to even watch, and the fact that it was filmed and nothing was done about it. I want you to express your feelings first and foremost, but also the situation for those who may not know what happened.
Well, first, like I would say personally, I think it's unfortunate that it's happening in the 21st century, where people are saying that we are open, but I feel that people say from their mouth that they're open, but from inside they're very closed still. And I think it comes down to the way we're actually heading, like the way we are heading right now in life as well. People have lost their identity themselves, and I normally say that when you do not have an identity yourself, you will try to ruin others. Right. So what happened with the small child, and I'm very shocked, even right, literally the picture's going in my head right now, is that he's basically outside school, and then two boys start bullying him, and then the worst thing is there was people actually making videos. No one intervened to even say,
it's
okay,
like cars driving past as well.
Yeah, cars driving past, and his turban was taken off, and they're beating him up, and then not only beating him up, and then after laughing at it, because the boy is not too young for the other boys to not understand what it is, but he's not too old either to actually deserve what he had to go through. So if I'm talking about say 9-10-year-olds, right, they must have gone to school together for a while as well. So for a child to still feel that they're not part of something, I think it's quite concerning.
This is very concerning, and I'm hoping and praying that is the last time we'll ever have to see something like that, or a video like that. Harpreet, do you have anything to say about the
Yeah,
situation?
for me, it's like, what about the children that are not recorded? Like, that was a one-off chance where someone did record it and it happened to get leaked on Twitter and stuff. But what about all the children or the unknown children that are being bullied? Also, I feel sad and upset by the fact that a child was bullying another child. I'm not necessarily going to blame the child. I'm not necessarily going to be angry at the child, because it's just a lack of education and lack of awareness by the role models that surround that child. I'm just disappointed in the environment and the parents of the child that caused just the thought process for him to do such a thing to the other child.
Moving on to an interesting point, which is more personal. You guys don't have to answer this, but it'd be good because it'd be first-hand knowledge, it'd be first-hand experience. But starting off with Harpreet, actually, I think would be better. Is, have you ever faced discrimination by being a Sikh from like any time in your life? Have you ever faced any discrimination or racism, and what example?
I wouldn't say being a Sikh, because I don't really have I don't really wear the turban, I don't really wear the clothing, but I'd say for being brown, yes. So I've been called like the P word and.
Alright, so rather than just that, what about, have you witnessed someone else close to you that is, you can look at them and tell they're Sikh?
Sikh. I personally haven't. I've just witnessed racism for being brown, and just being brown.
That's fine.
Regardless of if you're Hindu, Sikh or Muslim, just for being brown.
So it's more racism rather than bigotry.
More than Pacific, like you're Sikh, you're Muslim. I've not experienced that. Thankfully, I've not experienced it.
What about yourself, Darbag?
Many times. Many times. I've literally the most recent one was I was actually my Muslim brothers. I actually went on a holiday with them. So all of them, even they had like Mohammed's on their passport, and they all literally went through. When you go through the it is a check-in area, checkpoint. Sorry, you go through that, and all of them went through, and they stopped me. They literally stopped me. Like, every time you go on the airport, you get stopped, because first of all they look at your beard, then they look at your turban, then they associate straight away thinking Muslim. But then I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, fair enough, they're not educated, so I have to comply with it. But from the age of 11 until the age of 19, I had a fight every single year because of racism.
So another thing I just want to brush up on, because it's just recently come to light, it's the situation against Sikh people in India as well for years, since the 1970s and 80s. Yeah. I actually found out about it because Harpreet was posting a story, which is why we brought you here today, because we know you're educated on these situations.
A little bit.
So talk to me about, and talk to us about that from the past, coming to here, how we're seeing discrimination in the UK, but you've actually been experiencing it for years in your home countries.
India,
where they had Sikhs for the last 200 years, 300 years, they've got a system which is working perfectly in terms of the traders and stuff like that. For the rest of the India, it's not working perfect. So what they've done is they've created something first. Like, India is an illiterate country. People, there are people that are educated under the system, okay, but in reality they do not know much, only what the government's teaching them, right? So what they want to do is they want to bring the whole country under one umbrella. But they're not understanding it's a democratic country. Muslims are living there, Jains are living there, Zoroastrians are living there, Jewish are living there, Sikhs are living there, right? Hindus are living there. Even the Hindus, that they've got so many different sectors, it's called the Sanatan Dharma, right? In reality, it's a Sanatan Dharma, right? So it's like, there is a group of people that are trying to bring everything together, and that's putting pressure on Muslims, Sikhs, and other people in the country, which is like, and people are feeling suppressed. And right now, through this thing, what they're trying to do is they've sold the land, they've sold the trains to corporate world. They've sold
the land as well now.
They've sold now their point is to basically sell the land to the corporate world,
which is owned by a lot of Sikh
by the Sikhs in I think in the 90s. When the independence happened, there was no food left in India, and at that time the Sikhs literally they grew a lot of crops. They were getting crops from Russia, and that crop was not worth eating, right? So then after that, the Sikhs started growing it, but now they're not thankful. So the Sikhs are saying to them that, listen, you know what you're doing right now, when the country needed us, you always put us in front. When you want to fight with China, you put us in front. You want to fight with Pakistan, you put us in front. But then after, when it actually comes to our rights, right? Because Sikhs fight for righteousness. Doesn't matter if they have to stand for a Muslim or a Hindu. They just see whatever's rights, right? Yeah. So now they're basically doing that stuff to the Sikhs.
So sad. I never knew any of this. None of this. No, that is so sad.
It's insane.
It's how the world is. We can't do anything about it, and
the government are trying to passed 3 laws that take the rights away from the farmers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
I heard of that.
something.
And even the physical abuse that they're giving right now as well, like
Yeah,
beating
the
up
army.
we're
many
doing a
old
lot of
uncles and
peaceful-
stuff.
Peaceful protests, but obviously the army's not.
Peaceful protests, but they're calling you terrorists. That's
They-
the worst thing.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing
Yeah.
that you.
But
can,
you know, to be honest,
ever
I'll be
witness.
very honest. It's just the government. Remember, the Indians themselves are good people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right, the people are just like us, right? And they, whoever is actually seeing the protest, they can actually see they're saying that, oh, there's no leadership. What are they doing to have like nearly 2 million people sitting on the streets? You need tremendous leadership to keep peace, right? So all the people like from different, and then people like, you know, the ones that are calling us terrorists, and they're calling us like we want Khalistan and stuff like that, our own land, right? The Indians know that they can't give us the land because that land is owned by Sikhs. So if they give us that land, they lose that land, right? So what do they have to do? It's like try merging us in them. But then again, when we anytime we try raising our voice, they call us terrorists. It was the Punjab when actually, you know, when the not Muslims, but you know, the British, when they enslaved India, right? It was Punjab that had problem. You guys were okay with it. But now when Punjab can actually see there's something wrong in these bills, you guys are okay with it. That doesn't mean that it's actually okay. So that's what the problem is. But
Yeah.
luckily what's done is it's actually united everyone.
Yeah.
I've seen Muslims there like feeding people. I've seen Hindus, like there is like small children, like Hindu children, like from different communities. They actually come in looking after older people.
That's beautiful.
So it's brought the country together. I'd
That's
say
the positives of India.
That's the positive.
Yeah. What would your lot's advice be based on unifying between Muslims, Hindus, Christians, white people, black people, whatever? How can we bring more unity to defend any sort of discrimination?
I put, you know what, from my own personal experience, like, you know, when I remember that my son, he had long hair, right? So I remember when he was in school and I saw some children were a little bit, you know, off when they were trying to speak with him. And as a parent, you feel it. You can, because you're older, you can actually see how the kids are doing it. So I wasn't saying that it's because my child is different or anything, but I was just thinking maybe that child is not educated.
Yeah, well,
So I was like, yeah, what I was doing is I was basically going and speaking with the parents, right? Whoever the child was
Sweet.
of that parent, I was going and speaking with them, and I was like, hey, why don't you bring the child over to mine? So they were
like
coming to
integrating and
Bro,
stuff,
you got my respect, man.
right.
That's
I'll
amazing. That's amazing. That's right.
I'll bring the child.
I'll give you
over
hand
to my-
sanitizer.
I'll take the parents to my house. And I'll take the child to my house. And they literally, I'm forcing the child to engage with my child, and I'm forcing my child to understand that, you know what, that child is not harmful, right? It's just that, you know, they're not on that level. So when they come to your house, right, just make like cookies or whatever, and then you're actually talking to the parents. They're thinking, wow, my parents are talking to them. So in the next day, that child will like, Sartaj, come out, and they are telling my
he's
child.
not the bad guy, he's okay.
And then my son's actually running to that child, and they became friends.
That was like completely good, guys.
So what I can gather from that point is you're basically saying that parents should have a duty to educate their children to make them understand that the diversity isn't really diversity, we're all
And
one kind.
help the children, because remember, it's the parents might be at work, but that 1 hour that you've got after school, just let that child come into your house and let them see your culture. Not in a oh, you know what, some people are like, oh, I don't want to. That's fine, don't bring people into your house. But maybe like, you know, I don't know if you know that in Pakistan we call him Baba Idi. If you just read his story,
Okay.
that man's story after UNICEF, I think he's got the biggest foundation, and I respect that guy on a different level. I read a lot of stuff, but that guy, his mother used to give basically in the old days, like say £1. So the mother used to give him 25p for other child. So she used to say that you've got 75p, and if someone's not got food, you take this 25p and actually just go and feed someone else, right? And then the mother will know that if the child is actually lying or not, because he wouldn't be able to look in the mother's eyes, right? So he's like, oh, did you eat all of it, right? But then slowly he understood the message, right? So you don't have to take the kids to your house. Maybe after school, or maybe something like that. If you feel that your child is being bullied, right, sponsor the other child, take them out, like literally go to play car, wherever you can take them. Speak with the parents, engage the kids together. When they engage it makes it a lot more easier. Parents have to take their step to actually help the kids. You can't carry on telling the teachers. Teachers are not the parents. Teachers are there to look after children.
Thank you guys very much for sitting with us today, educating us first and foremost, but also educating everyone around us. And the best thing I can tell everyone else watching this video right now, if you're still here right now, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out to make sure that you're doing your part in learning first and foremost, and also spreading this message, because I know I can trust our wave makers to do that. So this video has been beautiful. Many good points have been raised, many good things have been spoken about, but what use is it if no one's using it? So hopefully take this away and make some waves.